Welcome to the Frenzy Presents Fantasy War Room, where we promise to help you win your fantasy football league in 30 minutes or less every week. Of course, I am Russell Franchise, as always. And here's the thing. People love the fact that we do fantasy football in the Frenzy, but they don't like the fact that it's in the middle of the original Frenzy show. So, I decided, you know what? Let's take it out of the middle of the show. Let's make it its own show. So every Thursday or Friday, you're going to get 30 minutes of great last-minute advice to help you win your fantasy football championship like I did. And I did this because of the guy I have on the line with me. He's 250 pounds of ton and fun. He is maybe the greatest procrastinator. I don't know if that's a word. I think I'm making stuff up now. But he is the greatest at what he does, helping you win the fantasy games that you need. His name is Matt Carroll. I call him Fantasy Buddha. What up, Fantasy Buddha?
Hey, 250 pounds. I like where this is going already. How you doing tonight, Franchise?
I'm doing all right. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because, you helped me out last year.
I'm very appreciative of it. Thank you.
Yes, I won my league championship. I have the trophy in my room where people can see how great I am. It is because of the teachings and gospels of you, sir. If it was okay to worship two gods, you would be that second god.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Congratulations to you. I know that it was a hell of a matchup there at the end. You left a lot of points on the board, but you still came through. Mm-hmm. And it took you 7 years, but no one's more deserving. Put up with a lot of mess in that particular league, a lot of trash talk. And I was very happy that you got it. I was also happy that you paid for my meal at Buffalo Wild Wings during our draft.
Yeah. So now I only owe you, what is it, $174?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right. Hey, I'm sorry that, I'm giving you your own show now. You get your own 30 minutes now.
I know, you get 30 minutes, and I was like, whoa, I'm going to have more material for next week.
No, it makes itself up as we go along, all right? But
all right.
Here's the thing.
I could BS for 15 minutes, just on television shows alone, and how we lose track of time and we start talking about murder shows and all those things.
Right. No, what do you think I do on the Frenzy every week? That's just That's just me BSing the whole hour and a half that I have on there. I'll probably BS on this show if we're being completely honest.
Well, now hold on. Before we start, I am still behind on Bachelor in Paradise. So I almost messed up this morning. I heard that there was a marriage proposal at the end.
There was a.
And I'm like 5 episodes behind. So spoiler alert.
I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm actually, when I think the Bachelorette's going to come back around, we're going to make it a priority. When it comes back around, I will watch it with you, and we will spend an extra 5 minutes. We might have to rename the show The Best Fantasy Advice You Can Get 30 Minutes or Less with an additional 5 minutes on The Bachelorette.
I think we need to do The Bachelorette, but I think it's actually going to be, it was The Bachelor this past time, right?
Right.
So we need to also have, what's that murder show on ABC? How to Get Away with Murder?
Yeah.
We need to watch that and discuss that because Amanda has got me watching that, and that show's quite addictive.
At this point, we're going to pretty much go into the ABC lineup because I just caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that actually got good.
I never got into that show, to be completely honest with you. I need some main characters in there, you know what I'm saying? But apparently I'm missing a lot in the Marvel realm by not having watched that show.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Give it a try.
I'll try.
All
I've got enough on my plate. I'm behind in Bachelor in Paradise, and then I got Dancing with the Stars coming up. It's hard. I mean, this is a good time to be a television watcher.
I know, especially now that football season is upon us. But with
Absolutely.
But with football season comes the chance of winning your championships and whatnot. And that's what I brought you here to do. Me and you must come together and teach these people how to win their fantasy football leagues. Now, the draft is already over. Week 1 starts as we're taping right now tomorrow, which is Thursday.
Yes.
But pretty much there's a lot of things to get to, and we're going to talk about everything from keeper leagues, single players, who to draft and who not to do, a lot more stuff. But before we do, you're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me a lot. But one of the things that I really wanted to try to do for this season is actually help get our listeners into the fantasy football mode, because a lot of people might be playing fantasy football for the first time. They don't really know what's going on. So maybe. We bring them into our league, the Extreme Fantasy Football League. Long Dynasty, you won it. I just won it last year. This is a well-kept machine, and I wanted to use this as a key of, things that we see in the league. Now, with that being said, I was able to get clearance to talk about the XFL to the public from Commissioner and current Popcorn Bowl holder James Lambert. However, I had to pay a concession. The concession is because we're talking about the league, and it actually kind of goes back to week 16 of the Frenzy, when we actually talked a lot of trash about James Lambert's.
What he had coming.
Yeah, he actually, because keep in mind, he's a busy guy. We didn't know that he would listen to the show the exact next day.
The first episode he ever listened to.
The first episode. He was on a show before he actually listened to the first episode that he was on.
Yeah, didn't listen to his own episode.
Yeah. So, with that being said, every week before we go into our teaching, James Lamberts will deliver the State of the Union of the XFL. And right now I got my cell phone up and I'm ready to open it up, sir. So, are you prepared, sir?
As prepared as I'm going to be for the most BS segment I've ever heard. Go ahead.
All right, so here it is. The commissioner of the XFL. Sorry, XFFL. He'll probably find me about that. Mr. James Lamberts.
This is James Lamberts with your weekly Extreme Fantasy Football League Commissioner's Report. We are a league trendsetter that is now in its 7th season. It's a 12-team league with enough characters to cast a reality show that has more drama than the beef between Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj. As we go further into the season, it will make sense. I won't go into lengthy details of everything, but we'll start off with a recap of our 7th draft experience that took place mid-August just south of Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a great time with more trades than any other draft, leaving many confused and lost. We crowned Russell with the coveted Commissioner's Cup. He then proceeded to chug a crowning Coke from the cup, and then drafted almost all Atlanta Falcons players.
Oh, come on.
Good choice with the liquor, bud. After the draft, injuries crushed keeper selections. Matt Carroll, a.k.a. Fancy Buddha's Kelvin Benjamin, put return of Ron Mexico in for a loop. And another team named Straight Cash Homie lost Jordy Nelson for the year. Maybe there's a thing to be said against early drafts, but it is what makes this league stand out. Finally, to close this week's report, league tradition continues as both teams from last year's championship game face off to kick off the XFL season. It was dubbed the Dungy Lovey Smith Bowl for reasons Russell can explain. Bryant Land's Man Curse versus your hosts talking practice. So, Russell, I ask you, who has the upper hand in this week's matchup of yours?
Oh, man. First of all, James, you're still kind of conceited about the fact that I have the championship. You can hear it. He sounds cheery, but you can actually hear that he's kind of pissed off about it.
It sounds like a pre-recording. but instead of a State of the XFL Union piece, he sounds like he's preparing two competitors to face off to the death on a segment that's being throughout the entire world.
Yeah. You mean Hunger Games, reality football?
Like Hunger Games, yeah. Yeah, like you can see him. He's in the middle of the arena
Yeah.
in a hologram form, and two people are one's about to strangle the other one with his bare hands.
I'm thinking Mike Adamle.
Yeah?
Mike Adamle, American Gladiators. We just need a zonk.
Yeah?
Yeah. Second of all, I misjudged the drink. It's tradition that the winner drinks whatever they want out of the Commissioner's Cup. The Commissioner's Cup is a really big ass cup. I'll put it on the Facebook fan page, which we do now have, facebook.com/franchise frenzy. It's a big ass cup, and I thought, everybody else drunk beer out of it. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna put Coke and whiskey in there. Well, actually, it was Coke and Crown. Tough thing about drinking out of that, if you have ice in there and you're trying to lift a heavy base while drinking, you're not going to get through it.
Yeah.
But to answer
yeah, that was not one of your finer moments. That's about half of that $7 drink spilled down your jersey. So.
You know what? When you're a champion, you do whatever the hell you want to do, sir.
Yeah, got a point. Okay. Well,
And then, third of all, I'm ready for the challenge. I told everybody, I plan to repeat this year, and if you want some of this, come get it. The door's open. The door's open. The cup's right in front of you. You're gonna have to get through me first to get to it, because I plan on being the champion forever and ever, sir.
Champion for life. Now, the twin that you're facing, we have twins. They're Brett and Bryant Land.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one is which.
Right.
But we have good twin
Yeah.
and bad twin. Good twin is the twin who can actually play fantasy football.
Right.
Bad twin is the twin who drafted Brett Favre 2 years after his final season in Minnesota.
Right.
So, just to give you a little bit of experience. So, Russell is facing the good twin, whose team is highlighted, and I don't have the roster in front of me, but if I remember right, he has Aaron Rodgers.
No, that's a bad twin.
Okay, so he has Luck there, because I traded him Luck.
Yeah.
So he has Luck and ODB and a set of running backs, if I remember right.
I'm pulling it up right now. We use
Twins got a pretty stacked team.
Yeah, well, he's got ODB.
What we're going to talk about.
Yeah. He's got ODB. If I can pull it up, got the lineup right here. I'll give you my, let's see, the matchup. The matchup is like a so. I'm probably gonna, as I said, I did went Falcons heavy with everything. I got Matty Icy, and only because I got Julio Jones as a keeper. And then I got,
and I 100% like that move.
Yeah, I'm starting T.Y. Hilton, Sexy Eddie Lacy, Joique Bell, Greg Olsen, Pierre Garçon, Dan Bailey as my kicker in the Carolina defense. He has currently starting Andrew Luck, ODB, Brandon Marshall, Josh Charles, Marshawn Lynch, Dwayne Allen, Devontae Adams from the Green Bay, Jason Tucker as your kicker, and of course he's going to play the homer role and put the Jets defense as his homer.
I don't mind the Jets defense. They're going to give up points, but they're also going to have a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions, a lot of forced fumbles. That team is getting better. If I had to guess, and y'all are probably wondering how he ended up in a redraft with Luck, Marshawn Lynch, and did you say Jamal Charles?
Jamal Charles, yeah.
So we'll explain that in a minute, because I'm sure we're going to end up talking about my team. But I think the early favorite is going to end up being Twin. I mean, that is the best running back combo that you could possibly have. And a lot of people think that Andrew Luck is the consensus number one quarterback, if not number one, number two quarterback in fantasy this year behind Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So, as much as I like your team, Russell, I think he's got a better flex player. He's got a better series, a better set of running backs, and I think he's got a better quarterback. Although I do like the double dip Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I was listening to a podcast that's a lot more legitimate than mine, and one of the bold predictions.
Well, we're not legitimate.
Oh well, no, we're like the unnamed or unmarried child, a child born out of wedlock of a fantasy podcast. But I digress. He said that he thinks Julio Jones is going to have the best fantasy year for a wide receiver ever.
Right.
And I don't know, Julio in the X with that Shanahan offense, Matt Ryan. I mean, they've got to throw the ball because I don't know who's going to be running it there.
Right.
So I really like that double dip there. You got Ryan, in the 6th or 7th round, I think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you for downgrading the legitimacy of this show, sir.
I'm sorry. But that's what makes us up.
I know.
We have that flair.
I just want you to know that when you come asking for the cost of living raise on the $25, think about what you said earlier.
I didn't think that you would actually pay for my meal.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll ever get a cost of living raise.
Look. If this show starts making money, you'll be the third to know.
You, the government, then me.
Yeah. All right. So, Fantasy Buddha, teach us, Almighty One. Week 1 is at hand. What must we learn for our lesson this week?
Well, as they say, the hay is in the barn. You've done your fantasy research. You've drafted, hopefully by now, unless you're going to sneak in with a draft tonight. And as we always say, it's time to play your studs, and
right.
That's what you've got to go with. There are a lot of obvious starters. There are some that are not so obvious, and then there are some that are leaving you with questions, as we stated, like the running back situation in Atlanta, like the running back situation in New England. So week 1, the thing is that I've been playing since 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a team run the table. So if you start off with an 0-2, 0-3 season, it's not the time to hit the panic button.
Right.
All right. Continue to play your stars. Continue to search the waiver wire, and be proactive, even if you start out 0-2, 0-3.
So pretty much an 0-2 record. Because I think a lot of people look at the fact that it is a truncated season. You're pretty much playing at best 13, 14 games in a season. You get an 0-2 start. That's the equivalent of maybe an 0-4 start in professional football.
Exactly. So, and when all else fails, if you don't know, always look at your projected stats. Okay.
That's what I do.
And I say that. Okay. And I'm glad you said that. You were in a league with me last year, and my sister-in-law said that she wanted to try out fantasy football. Now, my sister-in-law is a very smart person. She has she's a doctor
mm-hmm.
at a local hospital here. So so she gets off to this amazing start, and I think she gets off like 8-1 start, blows me out of the water, is the number 1 seed in a league that you and I played in. And she ended up losing to me in the semifinals of the playoffs. I go on and lose in the championship. And I asked her again. I said, there's no way that you knew what you were doing.
Right.
And she said, well, here's what I did. She goes, I just read this article I found about the waiver wire and decided who I wanted. And then I just looked at the projected stats, and that's how I won. And so, if you ever have any questions, it seems like an obvious thing to say, but if you're ever questioning it, just look at your projected stats and go off of that. Those computers, tend to be right or tend to be spot on more times than they're wrong.
Right. You know what? What else? What pretty much helps me out during the season? One thing that helps me out during the season is that I will, say I have a decision whether or not to start Dwayne Bowe or Julio Jones. If you open up your Chrome browser and you just put in Dwayne Bowe or Julio Jones, it actually takes you to a lot of the fantasy sites on there, and it actually gives you a breakdown percentage-wise of what the writers are going with.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, this one, like, if I was to put in, I think I was debating about, and I was going to ask you this earlier, but I'll ask you this: who would you go with, Pierre Garçon, or Pierre Garçon, or Davante Adams?
Probably Pierre Garçon, but I think you're safer with Garçon. I think Davante Adams has the higher upside based on the quarterback and based on the system.
All right. So I'm pulling it up right now. I did Pierre Garçon versus Davante Adams, and you have different sites you can go to. FantasyPros.com, FantasySP.com. I'm going to click on Fantasy Pros, and it's going to break it down by percentage. It's kind of based on the top writers on where they rank the wide receivers at. Right now, it's telling me Davante Adams is far and a wide pick to go with outside of Pierre Garçon. 95% go with Davante Adams over Pierre Garçon.
Yeah, and like I said, I would typically, if it were me, that's probably 50-50 in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Davante Adams is really unproven, but definitely does have the higher upside,
right,
like I said. So the more I think about it, or the more I would have thought about it, I probably would have put Adams in. We just don't know what Garçon's going to do. I mean, he's not a number one. Obviously, Davante Adams isn't either. But I think there are more opportunities for Adams to get the touches that he's gonna where he can actually put forth fantasy value.
Right. All right. So let me ask you: let's go into the fact that we're going to a season. It's always I think a lot of us shy away from the rookies because when you draft a rookie player, there's no guarantee that they're going to be great. Like I drafted I drafted Marcus Mariota in one draft, and I drafted Jameis Winston in the other draft. That there's no guarantee that either player is going to be the best player in the world. But likewise, you have the rookie players from last year now becoming sophomore players like ODB, who pretty much went above and beyond. Can you break down, your rules on how to handle rookie players and then the sophomore players?
Okay, so let's talk about sophomores and sophomore slumps first, right quick.
Okay.
So obviously, last year you had two absolutely phenomenal seasons by Odell Beckham Jr. and Mike Evans. Okay, and the problem with those players, in my opinion, and they have very similar stats. Okay, now you got to remember Odell Beckham Jr. didn't play the first 4 games, and that says something. Mike Evans had 68 receptions for 1,051 reception yards and 12 reception touchdowns. ODB had 91 receptions for 1,305 reception yards and 12 touchdowns. So 12 touchdowns each. Now the thing about that is that when I'm looking at stats and I'm drafting now, obviously because we're drafting later, we've already drafted. But when I'm looking at these things, I'm looking at the volume of the receptions. I'm looking at the number of drops compared to the receptions, and I'm looking for yards. Touchdowns, to me, they're not an enigma, but it's not a stat that I can go to and show that there's going to be any consistency.
Right.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. All right, and this is why. Now, granted, I did take Mike Evans with the second round pick in a league. Okay, but I had the third overall draft, and I was back in on a 12-team draft, and Mike Evans happened to have fallen to me, so I took him. But if you compare Mike Evans to Vincent Jackson, now I'm going to repeat what Mike Evans, his stats. He had 68 receptions, 1,051 yards, 12 touchdowns. Go look at Vincent Jackson from last year, okay? Vincent Jackson had 70 receptions, so more yards, more receptions, 1,002 yards, so within 100, and 2 touchdowns. So, Mike Evans, essentially, without the touchdowns, is Vincent Jackson.
Right.
So, that's why, you always have to look at the comparables. When you have to look at, Evans is obviously the number 1 in Tampa Bay, but the number 2 is essentially Mike Evans without the touchdowns. You have to think that with a new quarterback, there's going to be a learning curve there. Vincent Jackson could become the main target for Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston may go to Mike Evans. You just don't know. So I don't like to draft sophomores unless I absolutely have to, or if I just believe that value is there. Again, same thing with Odell Beckham. Okay, 4 games, but he also had Victor Cruz out.
Right.
So you have to think that Cruz is going to come back and eat into those numbers some. I would think that they're both probably around 8 to 10 touchdowns with a similar number, more receptions for Evans, fewer receptions for Odell Beckham, and then probably roughly the same yards. I think they're both probably 1,000 yards. But again, it's something that you need to be wary of. Okay. In regards, let me stop there. Any questions so far about that?
No, I'm taking notes.
Okay. So, and I'm not saying, look, I'm not a proponent for not drafting Mike Evans. I'm not a proponent for not drafting Odell Beckham Jr. I own Odell Beckham Jr. in 2 leagues.
Right.
Now, the reason behind that is because those are dynasty leagues. That's where they fell to me in the draft. So I'm going to take those players.
But
I think Odell Beckham Jr. is easily, 75 receptions, 1,000 yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns.
But don't we run into a situation, and I bring up Doug Martin, because Doug Martin is one of those players that rookie year, fantastic, just putting up numbers. Then his rookie, he had an amazing rookie season, comes back the next year, pretty much tanks it for the whole season. I think he gets injured before. Even with the best case scenario, we look at an ODB, there's no guarantee that he's going to be the same one. Is it one of those things where if you have them, you kind of use them, but you kind of just keep a cautious eye?
I heard a fantasy analyst say this about, in particular, to Doug Martin, and it got me to thinking, because you and I had that very scandalous Doug Martin trade.
Yeah.
And it got me to thinking, and I said, the expert said, look, Doug Martin did it his rookie year, okay? And if he's capable of doing it once, then he's capable of doing it again. So if a pitcher has 20 wins, and taking it to baseball,
right.
If a pitcher has 20 wins, then we know that he can hit, or that he can have another 20-win season. What are the factors that are causing him not to perform, to the standards that he has set forth, to the precedent? One of those standards, or one of those precedent factors, new head coach, Lovie Smith, coming into Tampa Bay. I think Lovie's going into his 2nd year. Not quite sure how to handle. Maybe Lovie doesn't know how to run Doug Martin. Okay, we know that there were some hamstring injuries and some nagging injuries there.
Right.
All right. So with Doug Martin, I actually like the value of Doug Martin, and I think there's a possibility that you take an 8th or 7th or 8th or 9th round flyer on him, and maybe he returns to 2012 Doug Martin form.
Right.
And that is what you have to do. But this is the argument. I'm going to the Doug Martin argument, because most people took Doug Martin in the 1st round in 2013. Okay, obviously that year I traded him to you.
Right.
But here's what you have to do. It's tough with sophomores, okay? But you have to draft based off of what they have done. So DeMarco Murray is a prime example. Obviously, he's no spring chicken, and he has injury issues. But I saw DeMarco Murray going as late in some rounds as late third or early fourth.
Fourth, yeah.
Now, granted, it's a new team, but let's pretend that DeMarco Murray stayed with Dallas. Okay? So DeMarco Murray is with Dallas. He's with that great offensive line. What makes you think that he is not going to replicate at least 3/4 of what he did last year? Okay, and I don't have DeMarco Murray's stat line in front of me, but he had one of the best running back seasons. It was what, over 1,400 yards, I think it was.
Yeah, but then again, he had that amazing line in Dallas. Yes, Philly has a good line, but it's not as good as what Dallas had.
You're right, and this is under the assumption, this is under the guise that he is still in Dallas. Okay,
right,
but that's what a lot of people do, is that they'll draft him and they'll say, well, there's no way that he can do it again. Or, he's injury prone. You can't draft off of injuries. Or you can't risk your draft based off of injury. You can't risk your draft based off of the fact that there's no way that he can do it again. What's to say that he can't? People keep saying every year, there's no way Adrian Peterson can continue to do what he does. As long as he's not beating his child or tearing an ACL, that's what he does.
Damn. As long as he doesn't beat his child or tear his ACL.
Yeah. So DeMarco Murray, I had no problem with him being a top 5 back.
Right.
Okay. Only because he went to Philadelphia. But if he stays in Dallas, you're telling me you're going to take Eddie Lacy over DeMarco Murray? You're telling me that you're going to take C.J. Anderson over DeMarco Murray?
You're
crazy.
I would probably have to go with DeMarco Murray if DeMarco Murray's still in Dallas and you had a gun to my head, as much as I love Eddie Lacy, I would probably have to pick up DeMarco Murray, especially if it was right in front of me. I would have to go to DeMarco Murray.
In my opinion, if DeMarco Murray stays in Dallas, and again, this is all what-if scenarios,
right.
Okay? But it's making a valid argument because Doug Martin is still in Tampa Bay, and Doug Martin has done it before, so you can't completely write him off.
Right.
All right. Same thing with ODB. ODB has done it before. I don't think he's going to be quite to the level that he was, but he's obviously a second-round pick. But again, we're talking about sophomore slumps. You just have to factor these things in.
Right.
Okay, but you can't expect the same. I guess the best way to put it is just shades of gray, because you have to factor in that sophomore slump, but you also have to know, look, he's done it once before. What can we reasonably conceive him to do, and then compare that to where he's going and again, and Odell Beckham. It's very tough for me to take him anywhere other than the very tail end of the first in a 12 or 14 team league, mixed league. I'm not taking him in the top 5 like I saw some people. That's just insane.
As always.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, so if you wanted to, we can move on to rookies now. As far as rookies go, do you want me to go ahead and move on to rookies?
Let's see. Give me 3 minutes because we passed the 30-minute mark.
Okay. Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
As far as rookies go, there's only one rookie that I'm taking in the top 5 or in the first 5 rounds, and that's Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper
come on.
No, I'm being dead serious.
That sounds like a Bama fan.
I am a Bama fan, but I'm being a realistic Bama fan. Let me explain to you why.
Okay.
Look what Alabama has put out as far as receivers in the past. You have, not 3 years ago, you had Julio Jones come out of that league, or come out of that out of college, and look what he's done in Atlanta. Amari Cooper was better at Alabama than Julio Jones was, and he's going to a team that's on the build. They have good running backs. They have a really good quarterback, in Derek Carr, who's going into his second year. If I took Amari Cooper, and I took Amari Cooper in 3 leagues, again, because he fell to me, I didn't reach and go get him, but if he was there 5th, 6th round, which he was in a lot of instances, I took him, and then I took Derek Carr as my backup.
Right.
Because I'm firmly believing this year in the double dip. And so that's a quarterback, number 1 wide receiver tandem. You're going to see it a lot with Ryan. I did it a lot with Ryan Tannehill. I love Ryan Tannehill this year.
He's going to get a lot more help with Kenny Stills.
Exactly. He's got Kenny Stills. He's got Greg Jennings. He's got the Adams kid. His name slipped my mind. I'm telling you, Tannehill, by all reports out of training camp, preseason games, I saw him in person in Carolina. Tannehill looks really, really good.
Yeah.
So to finish up with rookies, don't go reaching for a rookie unless you're in a keeper league or a dynasty league. I was in a dynasty league, and the only rookies that went off the board in the first 2 rounds were Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, Amari Cooper, and then everything else was going with proven stock commodity. Now, if you feel sincere about it, absolutely play your game, but I would be hesitant to take a large number of rookies early unless it is a keeper or dynasty league, which I obviously did in the XFL. We can talk about that later, though, if you'd like.
Well, let me ask one brief question before we move on. Because we got the big matchup between Mariota and Jameis Winston this week, Tennessee versus Tampa Bay. If you had to draft, let's say, if you had to draft for a keeper right now, who would you pick between Mariota and Winston?
I should have known this question was coming. I think I'm going to go based off of what I've seen, okay? And what I have seen is the cast that's around Jameis Winston right now is better than Marcus Mariota's cast. If I was in win-now mode, I would take Jameis Winston. I like the ability to have I like the quote-unquote dual threat that he offers, although I think that's going to slowly go away. If I'm building in a dynasty, I think I like Mariota. I think there are a lot of shades of Russell Wilson. I think he reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson. And, as you and I have talked about, Russell Wilson was the number 3 quarterback in fantasy.
Right.
So if I'm in win-now mode, if I'm not in a dynasty, I'm going Jameis Winston. If I'm taking a late-round flyer because I went, running back, first and second, and then I'm going wide receiver because wide receiver is so much deeper, and I'm just gambling on quarterback to win now. I think I'm going Jameis Winston. If I'm building for the future, I'm going probably Marcus Mariota.
As always, Fantasy Buddha, dropping that knowledge to get you over the hump. Can I ask you a couple of questions, sir?
Absolutely, go ahead.
And now, it's that splendid time where Franchise asks Matt the same 4 or 5 questions he asks him every week!
Alright, sir. Who do I start this week?
I start, and we talked about this earlier, I have the double dip 10. So if I have particularly Ryan Tannehill and his receivers, I love the Tannehill matchup. We talked about Cooper. We talked about Derek Carr. Obviously, you're going to be starting Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I really like starting the double dip, those quarterback wide receiver tandems. And any time that I can link those up, I'm going to.
All right. Who should I sit?
You should sit Tevin Coleman, the running back from Atlanta. There's been a lot of he was declared the number one, but I just don't trust that, to be completely honest with you. Devonta Freeman's there. It's just not worth it this early. I would go with the proven commodity. The Joyce Bell, as you alluded to earlier. I would start eating number 2 running back over Devonta Freeman, or excuse me, Tevin Coleman or Devonta Freeman. In the same situation in New England, I would go with LeGarrette Blount if I had to, but I don't really like that situation either. Because if they felt good enough to release the comedian from last year, who knows? So, but you know me, in years past, I'm always a proponent of starting the New England running back.
Right. Well, you just gotta. The problem with the New England running back, you just have to find like the right game to start that running back.
Yeah, but if you don't pick the right game, then you're going to end up laying a goose egg. There have been several times when Ridley and LeGarrette Blount and Shane Vereen, it's one or the other, and one ends up with 40 points, and one that ends up with 4. So you just never know.
All right. Who do I need to? Is there anybody that I need to pick up right now?
Yes. If you're in a more shallow 10-team league, John Brown with Arizona is going 39th overall. So if you're going for, that's basically right along the line on a 10-team league with, say, 4 receivers or 2 starting receivers and then bench. John Brown last year with some booty behind damn quarterbacks. Ryan Lindley had 700 yards. Okay, he's being drafted ADP of 39th overall. I think John Brown is going to slide into potentially number 1 wide receiver status. We talked a little bit about him at the tail end of last year. I picked him up, and if it had been a true dynasty league, he would have been a keeper all day long for me. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But John Brown is definitely somebody that, if he's available, you need to go pick him up right now because he's not going to be there for long.
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anybody I need to drop right now?
Honestly, I don't think I would drop anybody unless it's, no, I can't imagine there's anybody that you want to drop at this point in time. To be honest with you, preseason games are over. Second and third week are where you're going to be doing a lot of your true scouting. So I wouldn't drop anybody at this point. Figure out where you're at. Now, I would be working that waiver wire. I would be there first thing in the morning, whenever your waiver wire opens, be it Monday or Tuesday. Usually it's Tuesday morning for most people. But be mindful. So just to give everybody a quick recap on how waiver wire works. Leagues either won't run without a waiver or they run with a waiver. Your waiver wire rule or your waiver wire is going to be based off the opposite of how you drafted. So if you had the number 1 overall pick, you have the 12th waiver, you're 12th in line in the waiver, which means that if you want to pick up a John Brown, teams 1 through 11 have the option to pick him up before you. And if anybody puts in that waiver order or that waiver claim and they're ahead of you, they're going to get him in priority. So if number 3 overall takes it and number 1 and 2 didn't, they put in that waiver, then number 3 is going to get it.
Right.
Now, so that's a very powerful tool to have. If you think that person is can slip through waivers, let your waiver claim or let the claim process go through Thursday or Friday. Find out when your waiver process is, and then wait till afterwards. Okay,
Right.
Especially if you're a stud team. Additionally, if you don't have a waiver, then it's free game. The XFL used to run without a waiver, so you could pick anybody up whenever you wanted. And so it's like the Wild West. So find out what you have, and then work those waiver wires, smartly.
All right. Last question. is there anybody I should be shopping right now?
Ooh,
I know we haven't even had a down play yet. But if I'm thinking ahead, is there someone that I should hope does well on week 1 that I could possibly, trade bait with?
I honestly feel like the first name that came to my mind was Tom Brady.
Ooh.
There's so much going around about Tom Brady right now, and you and I talked about this. Tom Brady's regressing. It's not there in the statistics. It's not there, obviously, in championships. But he is regressing. He does not have the long ball that he once did. That's why his number 1 target is a tight end. Now, granted, Gronkowski is a once-in-a-lifetime tight end. He is, he's the prototype in what you want in a tight end these days. But Tom Brady is regressing. You got really good value for him, it's probably in the 7th or 8th round. I feel like you could probably, if you have a good quarterback, or if you're in a more shallow league, trade that name value and go get a stud running back or 2 really good wide receivers that are going to give you some depth, like a Vincent Jackson. I think Vincent Jackson's probably in the mid-20s. But if you could get 2 Vincent Jacksons that are going to be a flex position or wide receivers 2 and 3 for Tom Brady, I think I make that trade all day long, especially if I have, a Ryan Tannehill on the bench, if I have a Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is going to have a monster year. If those guys are there, I would potentially do it.
All right. Well, one thing, and thank you for all you do, because you break down the fantasy side of things. But I think one thing that we started bouncing on last year was the fact that the daily fantasy leagues were growing to be big. And I say that because every 5 minutes there's a damn DraftKings commercial.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and every commercial is, here's my promo code Stugatz, my promo code Nigel for a free entry into the millionaire one day, and it's really starting to oversaturate. And I understand it's fun, it's gambling, it's addictive.
Yeah.
But it's also really annoying.
Yeah. Well, thankfully with this show, we're going to continue to make it annoying, sir.
Yeah.
Because
there we go.
I'm debuting a new segment on the show to help those that want to get rich quick. It's called, I don't have the music yet for it. I'm working on it. I just came up with today. Franchises Daily Scam.
Okay.
To help you out. All right. So here's the thing, because right now when you look at most of the leagues, DraftKings right now has a $20 entry for a million for their biggest $1 million millionaire maker. First place gets $2 million. First place gets $1 million. That's life-changing money. More likely, when you're playing a league like that, you'll be lucky if you walk away with, if you put in $20, maybe $25. Make a $5 profit. So,
sure.
So with that being said, I know a lot of people, when they see the $3 million, when they see the $2 million pot, they're saying, well, I got to go big. I got to go with big names like Aaron Rodgers, Luck, Peyton Manning, because they are the top quarterbacks that can play right now. Keep in mind, when you do DraftKings, you have to, if you've never done DraftKings before, it's similar to not an auction, but you pretty much, you have a $50,000 salary, and you're pretty much putting aside money to buy your players. You got to use your $50,000. You have to use your $50,000. If you go over, you're gonna have to make cuts. I'm gonna help value size everything for you. If you look at the fact, here's a couple things to keep in mind. The daily fantasy salaries that they have for certain players hasn't really been updated since week 17 of the regular season, sir.
Right.
So, instead of going for the big name players and receivers, why don't you just go with moderate picks that you know will go well? For example, right now, Julio Jones is at $9,300. $9,300. ODB's at $9,200. And Demaryius Thomas is at $9,100. Those are the top 3 wide receivers right now on DraftKings.com. You could actually get a nice value wide receiver for roughly a quarter of the price. For example, everybody keeps talking about the fact that Davante Adams is now the new number 2 for right now in Green Bay. You can get Davante Adams going up against Chicago, which pretty much has the weakest, is a good matchup for the Green Bay wide receivers for $4,400. Keep in mind, you could get Jordy Nelson right now, even though he's injured, at $8,400.
Okay.
So you definitely want to look for the deal. For example, Kelvin Benjamin, he's injured right now. He's no longer the number 1 there. If you were to get him off draft, if he was to play right now, if he was 100% healthy, you'd be paying $7,300 for him. The Functionist Monster, Devin Functionist, $3,800. So you can kind of see, pretty much DraftKings is telling you can get the great value and still get the same production as you would with those other players. You just gotta look for the great value. One other thing I would recommend is looking at matchups. If you look at, for example, pulling up Green Bay's going up against Chicago. You look at Aaron Rodgers, he's at $8,600. He's going up against the 31st. He's going up against the 31st best defense in Chicago. You could actually save a little bit more money and go with a value pick. For example, Sam Bradford is $6,900, and he's going up against the Falcons, who are the 26th ranked defense in the league. Joe Flacco is at $6,700. He's going up against the 23rd ranked defense in the Denver Broncos. Carson Palmer's coming back from injury. He's at $6,500. He's going up against the 29th ranked defense, New Orleans. Same can be said with the defense at hand. You could go $3,400 for the Seahawks, $3,200 for the Bengals, but especially when you're trying to get that budget cut where you're trying to make the most points that you can, the Vikings are at $2,800. They're going up against the 25th ranked offense in San Francisco, and we all seen how San Francisco's offense has been decimated through the offseason.
The whole team has, really.
Yeah, you could get the Buccaneers, $2,800. They're going up against the 28th ranked Tennessee Titans. It's one of those things where right now, if you're trying to make that $1 billion, and if you have a chance, rather than go for broke with the players, try going with value picks. Look for value picks. Look for diamonds in the rough like Devin Funkness, Davante Adams. You want to look for those players that are already in places to shine, and you just want to get the right value. And I promise you, if you can do that, you can probably turn that $20 entry into maybe $1 million. No, if I'm being serious, maybe $40. But that's $20 more than you walked in with.
While you've been talking, I've been sitting here playing around with DraftKings, and I agree 100% that with what you said about value. I particularly think that value. There's a ton of value at wide receiver. I can go ahead and tell you that in my and I still have a balance from last year. Wonderful.
That's the same thing I said last year. Like, man, I don't know if I have enough to cover the $20 buy-in. Just like, oh, I got $17. All right.
So I'm just creating a quick lineup. You know, there's so much value at wide receiver. I really like that. I'm going to pay for. I'm going to pay up for running backs.
Right.
And I'm going to pay up for tight end. You know, I'm not going to pick a wide receiver or a tight end not named Kelsey, Olsen, or Gronkowski. It's just not there. It's just not there for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I would think.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Yeah, I would think going into this week, you know, I would pretend like even though you have 50,000, play with 45,000.
Well, I mean, use all your money.
Right.
I'm 100% for using your money, but don't be afraid to know who your studs are and then play off of that. And I'm actually trying to do I'm trying to put in a team right now. So I'm going with Lynch is going to be one of them. Are we going to do our weekly bet? Are we still thinking about something along those lines?
You mean a dollar gentleman's bet?
Yes.
I have Pinky swear with you over the microphone, so now it's official.
That sounds good to me. Well, maybe I don't want to put a team together in front of you because that would obviously you're going to steal everything.
Well, this is what we're going to do because we're wrapping up. What we're going to do Sunday morning. Sunday after the first, we'll do the whole game, week 1. I will take a screenshot and put it on the Facebook page, facebook.com/franchise frenzy, so you can take a look at whose lineup we went with next week. There will be a winner, there will be a loser, there will be a guy that's $1 richer than he was the last day.
That sounds great.
Right, but outside of that, tell us how they can reach you, sir.
Oh man, I haven't been on the Twitter in a long time. My Twitter is JMCarroll74. Oh no, hold on, it's that Fantasy Buddha, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's either Fantasy Buddha or Franchise Buddha.
It's Franchise Buddha. Yeah,
we do a terrible job in off season to keep you up to date.
I have. So to be completely honest with you, I thought that I knew my Twitter, so I was going to go to my Instagram to get my Instagram name, and the first thing that pops up is a selfie that Danielle Moyne, a.k.a. Summer Rae, posted, and let's just be honest, I kind of forgot everything that I was saying. So it is Franchise Buddha on the Twitter, and if you have the Instagram, I do need followers there. It's JMCarroll74. I probably need to change that as well. That's kind of lame. JMCarroll with 2 R's, 2 L, 74. And, on that you'll get wonderful, breathtaking images of my dogs and whatever sushi I'm eating this week.
What's the sushi of the week?
The last one I had was a really nice, it was a deep fried roll, but when I say deep fried, it was only for like 30 seconds.
Was it tempura?
But it had a tempura batter on it, and it was an eel, a smoked eel, with the daggum picture won't show up. I take that back. That one, the tempura one, was a fish roll with eel on top of it, and then the other one was an eel and tuna. It's all on there. SB Inkey and Bryce Mac 97 liked it on the Instagram.
So this is going to be a new thing now, where we ask you what the tuna is.
Yeah, I can pretty much guarantee you that I'm either eating at some point. I'm either eating sushi or wings. So, I'll give you those flavors of the week. And then we could also probably do like a craft beer because I'm allowed to drink beer now.
We're just one step away. At this point, we're just one step away from having a DraftKings code right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/RussellFranchise. The official fan page is the Facebook.com/Franchise Frenzy, where you can find this show, plus the show that started it all, the Frenzy with Russell Franchise, Parth and Corey Davis, two big guys that we have on last year. They came on. If you haven't heard that episode, to get ready for week 1, I advise you to go back and listen to that one. Before we leave and call it a night at the Fantasy War Room, I think it's time for us to cut a well-timed promo of how you plan to destroy our opponent this week. Good sir, you are going up against I Love Me Some Me. He's been doing some trash talk on the boards. He thinks that he can take you down, sir.
Well, listen here, Brian Dillon. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care if you're stupid Ohio State fucking Buckeyes or Buccaneers or whatever the hell they are beat my Alabama Crimson Tide. The fact of the matter is this, kid. You are the absolute bottom dweller of the XFSL.
Ooh!
Okay? You are down there with the leeches and the leaves that fell to the bottom of the lake. You are down there with the catfish. You are down there with the bodies that people hide in Lake Moultrie. You do not even register on my radar. Even with a 3-win team last year, I still kicked your monkey ass all over the XFSL page.
Ouch!
So don't come at me, Mr. Brian Dillon. Don't come into my grill, because what you're going to get is those 5 fingers upside your head.
Damn. Man.
You are going, I am going to go full on desperate housewife on your ass.
Damn.
Up in here on my team. I will be Callista Reigns from Mistresses, running game on you from prison. You can't even handle this, Junior. You can't.
Man.
All right.
So
I do. That's what I do.
We're gonna be
SmackDown. 1-0, baby.
We're gonna be in. The fact that ESPN hasn't picked us up yet. It's just. It's just
a matter of time. I mean,
just
put Dan Lepetard at the 10 o'clock slot to fill in to replace Cowherd.
Yeah.
Our time's coming.
All right. Well.
And I'm obviously a company man because I just dropped a Mistresses reference.
Yeah. You dropped the summer. You dropped the summer show on ABC. That's big ballin'.
Hey, listen. I don't know about you, but when I saw Callista Reigns in that jail cell with that rope in her hand, I'm really hoping that somebody is able to save her, because she did not kill her husband. She didn't. And they showed it to you, and it's not, it's the whole, oh. All
right. What? You did well, but let the champions come through, because I must reign over everybody here. I told you once, I told you twice, I'm going to keep the title. There's nothing you can do. Just give up. Just give up, Matt. Just give up, James. But most importantly to you, Madden Curse, give up now. You think you're smart? Oh, you got Luck? You got Beckham? You got the best running back core? That's great. You had ODB last year in the championship game. He got you a lot of points. But when I look back at it, I can see the championship cup on my dresser. Where's your championship cup at? You don't have it.
Tell him, man. Tell him.
You don't have it. You have Luck? You can have all the luck in the world. I got Julio Jones. Jones is better than Luck. Jones is money. Sexy Eddie Lacy. Been with me for the past 2 years now, make it 3 years. We up in this bitch. And so now, when the kickoff starts tomorrow, that's the last time that you will have this sense of happiness. You will completely forget about the fact that you finished second to me. And you will learn to live in the reality that no matter who you have on your team, who you have on your bench, you will never stop me. What are we talking about? What are you talking about? We talking practice, son. We're talking practice, son.
Preach.
Mic drop. Thank you. Thanks, Matt, for being on, as always. Gonna say something? Guess.
I thought there was another. I thought there was something else coming after that sentence.
No.
I'll try to do better next time, my friend. As always, I'll be here.
All right. For Matt Carroll, I'm Russell Franchise, saying enjoy week 1. Good night and good luck.
Best of luck, everybody.